Okay, some other homework questions that are a little bit tricky. So on page 30, let's see, we're now on page 34. So question 18, it gets a little bit harder. Here's the diagram. What they tell us is that ray OG and ray OH divide this straight angle into three angles whose measures are in the ratio 4 to 3 to 2. 4 to 3 to 2. And look at how they represent them. So one is 4x, the other is 3x, the other is 2x. So the ratio, in fact, is 4 to 3 to 2. We're looking for the measure of angle FOG. Well, what you do know in this situation is that all those angles form a straight angle. So if we add them together, so 4x plus 3x plus 2x is 9x, it should give us 180 degrees. So in fact, x then is 20 degrees. So then we know this is a 40-degree angle. GOH has got to be 3 times 20 is a 60-degree angle, and FOG, 4 times 20 is an 80-degree angle. So the measure of angle FOG is then 80 degrees. And we're done with that. Or number 19. Okay, so 19. I always have to redraw the picture. And in fact, it's kind of a good idea too, because you might think that it's kind of just silly, but as you're drawing, often your brain is working on something. So again, we have this picture. You don't want to make any silly assumptions about segments being congruent just because they look congruent, or forming right angles because they look like right angles. And in fact, the only thing we know about this diagram is that this VM is congruent to SR, because they told us. But then they go and say that segment, or this, they only drew the segment, but we know that there, in fact, is a line that would go through. TP bisects VS. So in other words, those two little segments are congruent, and it also bisects MR. So those two little segments are congruent. And then it tells us that MP is 9. So then we know PR is 9, and we know VT is 6. So that TS is 6, and we know the whole perimeter is 62. And we're looking for the length of this side. Since that's what we're looking for, I'm going to call it X, because I don't know what it is, but I'm curious about that. And if this is X, then this congruent part is also X. And we know the perimeter is the total distance around. So we have 18 there. We have 12. If we add those together, we're going to have 30 plus these two, 2x, is equal to the perimeter, which they told us is 62. Let's subtract 30 from both sides. Divide by 2. So I know x is 16, so therefore, VM is 16. Okay, good. Number 21 is another algebra sort of problem. You are given a segment. And again, you don't want to make any assumptions. It's P, Q, R. The only assumption we can make is that Q is between P and R. And we know that this is x squared plus 3, and this is 4 plus 2x. We don't know if they're congruent or not, but we do know that the entire length is 15. So the one thing that we can definitely say is that the sum of the two little pieces will give us 15. So x squared plus 3 plus 4 plus 2x is 15. And let's clean this up. This gives us x squared plus 2x plus 7 equals 15. But in fact, because of the x squared, this is a quadratic equation. So let's set this equal to 0. X squared plus 2x. I need to subtract 15 from both sides, which is going to give me minus 8 is 0. There is nothing I can factor out of each term. So I'm going to factor this into two binomials. And I'm looking for two numbers which, when multiplied together, will give us a negative 8. And I'm going to try positive 4 and minus 2, because when I FOIL this out, 4x minus 2x, in fact, does give us 2x. And then, as we always do with quadratics, we have to use the zero product property. So what I'm going to say is that either x plus 4 is 0, or x minus 2 is 0, which would give us x is negative 4, or x is positive 2. My problem with negative 4 is if I plug it in here, that's going to give me 4 minus 8, which would give me a negative value, and we can't have a negative length. So we'll just get rid of that. So x is just 2. And here they are asking us, is q the midpoint? Well, let's see now. If x is 2, then I know this is going to be 7, right? 4 plus 3, and this is going to be 10 plus 4 is, 4 plus 4 is 8, and they do add it up to be 15, but these two segments are not congruent. So therefore, your answer is no. Q is most definitely not the midpoint, and we have shown how it cannot be of segment PR. Okay, question 22. The C problems are the ones that get really tricky. So we have an angle that's trisected. So this is angle NOS. NOS. And we have ray OP, and we have ray OR, and we know that angle NOS is trisected. Oops, sorry. So this is the diagram that we're dealing with. So let's see, NOP is 3x minus 4y. Again, I have to label everything. POR is x minus y, and ROS is y minus 10. And we have two unknowns. We have two variables, x and y, so we need two equations. So I'm first going to say these two angles are equal. So one thing I know is that 3x minus 4y equals x minus y. And I'm going to put everything on the left-hand side. That gives me 2x. I'm going to add y to both sides, so 2x minus 3y is 0. So there's one equation. I'm also going to say that these two angles are equal. So x minus y equals y minus 10. I'm going to move the y over, so that gives me x minus 2y is negative 10. So my system of equations now is that. And now to solve a system of equations, you need to remember substitution or elimination. Frankly, I kind of like elimination, so I'm going to go for eliminating my 2's, since my x's, sorry, since this is a 2, I would like this to be a negative 2, so I'm going to multiply that entire equation by negative 2. So that's going to become negative 2x plus 2y plus, 4y is equal to positive 20. We have 2x minus 3y is 0. When we add these two things together, the x's are out of there. We're just left with a single y is equal to 20. And now I'm going to go back to one of the kind of easy equations. Or in fact, I'm not even going to bother doing that, because if I know y is 20, then I know this is going to be 10 degrees. And since these are equal, this is 10 degrees, this one's 10 degrees. They're asking us for ROS, and the measure of angle ROS, we don't even need our x, is 10 degrees. Okay, so that's number 22.